are that spark. And so you need to ignite that spark to recognize, make that spark a millionfold to be enlightened, so that you will recognize ultimately that there is one truth. It cannot be that when so many prophets have come into this universe, they have thought of different truths. So I jokingly tell my students, do you think Allah, Buddha, and all the Hindu gods are fighting with each other? If they really is the essence of truth, it's not likely that they will fight. But we, with our very limited knowledge, we have a view of divinity, and Hinduism says you need to fight your own ignorance.
And so Hinduism is really is much more spiritual in a real sense. And when we talk about spirit in the Christian tradition, we're talking about something that's unseen or whatever, but we're saying that Hinduism requires us to educate and to evolve that self-realization, I think it's called in some popular terms. So that's would you say that would be the essence of what Hinduism is about?
Yes, yes. So people think that when they are looking at Hinduism, that it is just a religion of rituals. But these rituals have been put for us really to get this gross body to listen and to be attentive to these rituals, to have a connectivity between this gross body self and that essence of that divinity. So if you, because we realize the mind is a monkey, so when you have these rituals, you feel it is much more easier to focus. So that kind of focus, as it intensifies, then you evolve in terms of recognizing that spirit.
And so you become closer and closer to that spirit by the, that's what meditation and concentration and etc. is.
It is the same with the prayer rituals. We have variety of rituals. There is a lot of chantings. Our priests at the temple do not preach. They only conduct these rituals. The preaching is more from the people who have really evolved in terms of recognizing the essential truth. So any discourses that you hear from about the essence of divinity is from these people who have self-evolved themselves. And so their interpretation, their explanation will serve people to recognize, help them to evolve as human beings. But these rituals, the component that you have, which is, ritualism, that ritualism is also, we see, as an essential part to your religious practice, because you steady practice in a defined way.
Discipline.
Discipline. It gives you discipline, and especially in your childhood, when you go to a temple or a church, you get very distracted. So these rituals, even not just for the children, even adults get distracted. So these rituals help us to focus, and gradually it builds a discipline in terms of tuning our mind towards divinity. It is the God-tuned mind is what one needs, and tuning into God is these kind of rituals, and the variety of deities, and as well as the icon worship is simply a help for individual to move to that direction of self-discipline and evolving into recognition of what the essence of divinity is.
Okay, over the last couple of minutes here, Dr. Paruchuri, let's look at this question. I think it has often been said that the so-called civil rights movement came primarily out of the nonviolent philosophy of an Indian. You see, let's talk about the relationship that you know of in reference to that.
I'm very glad you asked me that question, because nonviolence is, one of the essence of Hinduism. That is why many Hindus are vegetarian. Hindus believe all living beings have their place in this world, regardless of whether it is in human form or it is in any insect form or anything. Non-violence is important for us to practice, because every living being has its own responsibility in this universe to execute its own duty. So if we practice, non-violence towards all these living creatures, we hold this universe in greater balance.
Sacred. This is a sacred universe in that perspective.
Yeah. And so this non-violence is a major component, as you know, which was preached by Mahatma Gandhi. And for in order to practice non-violence, you need enormous amount of self-discipline, self-discipline, toleration, and Hinduism, with the constant discipline, it makes your mind recognize the importance of this non-violence. And people think that also when you are confronted with a violent situation, the tendency is to hit back. There's greater strength in self-restraint than executing without thinking.
Very good. And of course, Dr. Paruchuri, you see that our time is running out, and of course I hate to interrupt at this point, but we do have to end this. And of course, let us encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.